Historically, unions have played a critical role in progressive movements. We are at a new progressive moment, a moment that has been brought into stark relief by the 3 executive orders signed by Donald Trump regarding immigration. Here to discuss those executive orders and union response to them with us now is Damon Silvers. Damon is a special counsel and director of policy for the AFL-CIO, and AFL-CIO President Richard Trumka has put out a statement on this issue. So first of all, Damon, thanks for joining us.
Well, you're very welcome, Richard. It's good to be with you.
Good to have you back. Now, President Trump issued a statement saying that these orders are an affront to core union and American values. Let's talk about that for a second, if you would. Why should we consider? I think a lot of us can agree that they're an affront to American values, but let's talk for a second. Why are they an affront to union values?
Well, the core of the labor, obviously different people may have different ideas about what the labor movement is, but I think most of us who have been part of the labor movement understand the critical values of solidarity and a respect for the dignity of our fellow workers and our fellow human beings, that we're not just, that none of us are just, chips in somebody else's game. Or just assets or liabilities on a balance sheet. That every person is no matter who or where they live or what they do, is entitled to, a certain amount of fair treatment and a certain amount of dignity in life. These executive orders really violate those principles, and they apply to quite different situations, but what they have in common is that they really step on the fundamental dignity of families and of working families.
And do you feel that? I'm sorry. Did you have something more you wanted?
Yeah, I just wanted to explain why I said that. The first 2 orders really affect the situation of immigrants into the United States that are here already, and they affect our dealings in terms of our relationship with Mexico. And what they're really seeking to do is to dehumanize undocumented workers here in the United States, who over time have become part of our communities, and to really turn them into a caste of people without any rights in our country. And what that does is that it's an abuse of those people, but more broadly, it seeks to destroy the ability of working people, the actual people who work in the United States, documented and undocumented, to have any bargaining power at work. And so, what President Trump just said in his statement is that when you turn one group of workers into an underclass, all workers will suffer. Employers will be able to pit workers against each other and lower everybody's standard of living. So that's what that's about. And that's why it's an affront to core labor movement values, because it is an attack on solidarity in the workplace. Now, the third order, which was the order that was issued on Friday about refugees and immigrants from 7 predominantly Islamic countries, there's 2 things about that order. One is that it explicitly discriminates on the basis of religion. It says that we will not let people in from those countries unless, if they're Muslim. And this is A, against the Constitution, and B, against the principles of the labor movement for 200 years. We've never tolerated religious discrimination as a labor movement, whether it was against Irish Catholics or Jews or people from different Protestant groups in this country. That's an affront to core American values and the core labor movement values. And then in terms of the treatment of refugees, the labor movement since the 19th century has supported the idea that the United States is a refuge for people who are being persecuted in their home countries, that the promise of the Statue of Liberty is real, During World War II, the American Federation of Labor went and got visas for 1,000 enemy aliens, meaning citizens of countries the United States was at war with, because those enemy aliens happened to be Jewish and Italian labor leaders and intellectuals who were German and Italian citizens, who otherwise would not be allowed into the United States. And that was what the American Federation of Labor stood for then. They were enemy aliens. We are not at war with any of the countries on Donald Trump's ban list. And refugees from those countries, many of whom, for example, were interpreters and other ways helped our military, are people that deserve refuge in the United States.
All of this speaks to me, Damon, to a number of different issues. One is the value system that the labor movement represented from its origin. Another is the notion of solidarity among all groups of working people and across all groups of working people. It seems to me that people sometimes have a very tunnel vision view of what a labor movement is, that they think that Union A represents solely these workers and the interests of these workers. Union B solely represents those workers. And the notion of solidarity among all workers, it gets lost in the shuffle sometimes. And it seems to me that one of the issues brought up by the response to this immigration ban is that it doesn't matter what industry you're working in or likely to work in once you make it to these shores and become an American or an American worker. The fact is that we are all in this together as a principle among citizens and as working people is one that needs to be elevated a little more. I don't know. What do you think about that?
Well, President Trump has often said that, when he often, reflecting on his youth as a coal miner, he used to say, when we were above ground, people tended to be confused about things. They would look at each other and say, well, you don't look like me, your skin's a different color than mine, or you have a different accent, or you go to a different church. He said, but when they got underground in the mine and the lights went out, everybody looked the same.
Right.
And that is, when the labor movement has understood that fact, right, that in the workplace, in our economic lives, right, we stand or fall together, then the labor movement has been strong and working people's lives have advanced and gotten better. And when we've been divided by race, by gender, by sexuality, as the new draft executive order that may be coming down seeks to do, when working people are divided, we are weak. And the wealthy and powerful take advantage of us. It is that simple. It has been that simple since the days the Pharaoh built the pyramids.
Yeah. And so let's go back to the immigration bans for a second. We had this scene at the airports around the country where last weekend people were being denied admission, even with green cards in certain cases, denied access to attorneys and so on. Did you guys participate in that in any way? People came out to demonstrate, chanting, "Let them in." There were attorneys. Did the AFL-CIO play any active role in that?
Well, these events unfolded very rapidly, and there were lawyers from the AFL-CIO who were at Dulles Airport representing families, representing people with green cards. People with green cards are people who live in this country.
Right.
They've lived here for years. They've lived here legally. Families with green cards found themselves being treated like criminals at our airports for no reason at all other than, frankly, their religion. And, I'm very proud of my colleagues who were at Dulles representing those families. But more broadly, unions in the labor movement, different unions reacted spontaneously to go out with their members going to airports around the country. The United Federation of Teachers, the AFT local in New York, rallied folks, their members, to go to Kennedy Airport. I was with members of Local 23 of Unite HERE at Dulles Airport. The taxi workers, who are an organizing committee affiliated with the AFL-CIO, called a strike on cabs serving Kennedy Airport in protest. All this happened kind of spontaneously on Saturday when it first became clear that at our airports, people with a legal right to be in the United States were being victimized by virtue solely of their religion.
Yeah, and I can't. I was especially appreciative of the taxi strike coming together so quickly, and I can't let it pass. By the way, mention of it pass without noting that Uber, who we talk a lot about on this program, immediately moved, in my opinion, to break that strike by waiving their usual fee algorithms and that sort of thing. And I thought that was significant as well. But look, we're facing, I can't predict the future, but up to 4 years of a Trump presidency. And what should people be looking for or expecting from the labor movement going forward in the next in the remaining months of or years of the Trump administration? More spontaneous reactions when something happens immediately, some more organized response, or is it all happening so quickly that it's still a work in progress?
Well, I think that what the AFL-CIO is committed to here is that we're going to defend the interests of working people. We're going to defend American values, and we're going to defend the core values of the labor movement. I think our view is that at every turn, President Trump has a choice. He can be the president of the United States and everyone who lives and works here, or he can be the president of his billionaire friends and seek to sow division and the like. That's a choice he's going to have to live with every day. The labor movement's going to call him on that choice, for good or for bad.
All right. Well, I
think that's what we've seen happen pretty much from the start here. And I think we're already seeing some very, very big issues on the table that are going to affect all working people, where the signs are not good. Right? It's really clear that both President Trump's nominee to be Health and Human Services Secretary, Congressman Price. I'm sorry, it's not Price. I'm getting the name wrong.
Health and Human Services is Tom Price. Yeah. No, that's right.
Yeah, it is Tom Price. Anyway, Price and the Republican leadership in Congress, they have a program to take health care security away from every working American.
And every retired American as well.
They're not just interested in attacking the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare.
Right.
They intend to attack Medicare, Medicaid, and health insurance that people get from in their workplace from their union contract. Their goal is to take all that away and leave you with a coupon or a savings account. Right? That's the game plan on health care, which is as important an issue as exists in this country for working people.
Right.
And so, I think we already see the kind of fights we're going to need to have, and we're already having that fight. And the labor movement is going to defend the health care security of our members and of all working people against this kind of attack. And I'm afraid, as it looks today, that looks like the kind of thing that we're going to be having to do, day in and day out.
Yeah, I suspect you and all of us are going to have our hands full on healthcare, on retirement security, on a host of issues, on organizing rights. So we will stay tuned for all of it, and we'll be tracking what the AFL-CIO does as well. So Damon Silvers, Special Counsel and Director of Policy for the AFL-CIO, thanks for coming on the program.
Oh, it's great to be with you, Richard. Take care.